Hello everyone, this is Gary Carborator. Today I'm going to talk about the RDA and fat recommendation. I don't recall anyone talking about this before. And this video fits in with my series I've been doing about the sugar diet. This is an idea I've been saving for months because a few months back I heard that my brother was putting oil on a lot of his food, and I didn't know this before. I've been working with him on his diet and health because he's been having some big problems, and when asking him about what foods he eats and getting him to take a break from some foods and add in others, but I forgot to think about the things he puts on his food. I was assuming that other people would understand the importance of that, but you can't assume that kind of thing, especially with oil, because that's high in calories and it conflicts with carbohydrates. Just like the reason low carb diets get results is only when the carb content gets low enough, like really low, like keto. All these keto proponents say you got to drop the carbs way down to see the benefits. And so the body can focus on just the one source of fuel and have simpler digestion. It's similar with a low-fat diet. You have to drop the fat low, really low. And people don't do that. You've got to get fat out of the way. And again, I'm not talking about zero fat. There's no such thing. If you're eating normal whole foods, there's some fat in every type of food. So we know that people never follow the RDAs, but they may have lowered their fat a little bit, but it's not enough. Even my brother, who eats a lot like me and prefers carb-based foods, to the point of he doesn't even bother with meat or cheese. He eats a mostly vegan diet just because he likes carb food so much, fruit and grain. Yet even he wasn't eating a low-fat diet because he thought he should be adding fat to the carbs. Ironically enough, weirdly enough, it was because of the RDAs. That is ironic. The RDAs stopped him from eating a low-fat diet that he would have picked naturally. Why the RDA recommends so much fat? One reason is likely that they're trying to cover the rare individual that has conditions that would lead them to need more fat. This is the nature of the RDA. They're trying to cover most of the population. Also, the RDA constructors are probably trying to cover their butts, just in case their low-fat recommendations are blamed for something. As we know, that has happened anyway. They want to create a margin of safety. Now we get to this article here, which talk about other reasons. This article is on the Tufts Education website. I want to direct you to the part called the Carb Conundrum. They're going to talk about the 1980 guidelines. Now, for people who are new to my channel, I was around in the 80s. You wouldn't know it from my avatar picture, though. Yeah, it looks like I'm doing something right. Okay, let's read this. In response to the 1980 guidelines and resulting consumer demand, food manufacturers began marketing low and reduced fat. See, reduced fat doesn't mean low. This led to a proliferation of reduced fat products with poor nutritional value. I would say that's likely to be true. Well, of course. See, products, like I was talking earlier, products are not regular whole foods. Low-fat breakfast cereals, yes, we're familiar with how junky those are. Look, and then it says rich in starch and sugar. But those are not the problems. Let's see. This is a quote from some Mazaga. Salad dressing, muffins, cookies, other desserts. Now, this would be the reduced fat stuff, but it's still high in fat. Like low-fat milk, which also is called 2% milk. See, back then, I remember it was around 1987, I started drinking the reduced fat, 2%. And that was before I was getting into diet and health. But, you know, I was going along with the idea that less fat and cholesterol is good. But I was thinking that low-fat milk was really low. I was just a teenager, and I thought 2% was opposed to something like, say, 100%. Like the regular fat milk was 100%. I'd say I thought the 2% was 2% of the whole milk. But that's not correct. Whole milk is actually 3%. And that measurement is not even by calories, which it should be. They do it by weight. And that gets you to think that, well, 2% sounds super low, but it's still like, what, 20 or 30% fat. Let's continue here. Evidence has now shown that replacing total fat or saturated fat with refined carbohydrates, which no one is saying to do. On the other hand, a little bit of that is no problem at all. But if all you're eating is cereal and cookies and yogurt, like Mike Mutzel thinks, yeah, see, this video fits in perfectly because my last video was on Mike Mutzel talking about his fake world where America eats a low-fat diet. So this diet did not go well, and that's the reason. I'm explaining why. It was higher in sugar, but not low enough in fat. What Mike Bell is doing on the sugar diet is he's dropping fat to the floor, and he's losing weight. This guy goes on to say, replacing saturated fat with refined carbohydrates reduces LDL, the bad cholesterol, and so that's a good thing, but it increases blood levels of triglycerides and reduces good cholesterol. Okay, number one, you haven't replaced enough of the saturated fat, and you haven't replaced it with good carbohydrates. That's all you need to do. Eat bananas, eat mangoes, papayas. Summer's coming, melon season. Pasta, oats, rice with spices, tomato sauce. What's the problem? Okay, I went back up to see who this guy is because of an upcoming quote. He said, oh, MD, that's a red flag right there. Dean of Tufts Friedman School of Nutrition Science. This ruins the image of Tufts. So the article here says this diet didn't reduce blood levels of saturated fatty acids. No kidding. All you did was add more sugar to fat. This is not a low-fat diet. Then this Mozaffarian guy said, the liver turns excess dietary starch and sugar into fat, in particular saturated fat. Wait, I thought saturated fat is good. Body makes cholesterol. Every cell needs cholesterol. Also, going back to this first quote here, excess dietary starch. Well, what is that? You see low-carbers talk like this all the time. Excess sugar. What is excess sugar? Whenever someone talks about a carb-based diet, people automatically think there's excess carbohydrates. Why do you think that?
Unless you somehow overate fruit, which is like nearly impossible.
Like for a guy like yourself, like if you're trying to get really lean, you just do those fruit days until you see a new low, straight up.
And we don't get fat. I've never gotten the slightest bit fat. I spent the entire 90s overeating fruit and grains because I had gone vegan. My hunger shot way up. The body was saying, more of this, and I wasn't fat. I've never been fat, so I didn't have this mentality of trying to restrict. I just ate and ate and ate. I never gained any weight. So what happened to that excess carbs? It gets burned off. If the body doesn't need it, it burns it off as heat. And I got a blood test last year for the first time. I'll be making videos about that soon. The triglycerides, they were not too high. Higher than the low-carb eaters, that's for sure. They just were not too high to be a problem. Then the article says, replacing fats with carbohydrates, stop. That's a half-truth. They're replacing some fats with sugar. We low-fat eaters have proven that if you actually replace fats, all excess fats, like high-fat foods and oils, and you just rely on the fat that's already in the normal food, fruits and vegetables, everything works out great. But that doesn't mean removing all carbs from your diet is the answer. So in conclusion, my conclusion is, when you look at the big picture and all the information, reasonably, there is no problem with an actual low-fat diet. Avoiding it by adding some fats in is a slippery slope and can lead you to the levels in the standard American diet without you even realizing it. Another conclusion is to eat your fruit. And fruit season is coming. It's here for most people. And I'll be making some inspiring fruit videos late June or all through summer. As a 30-year veteran, I'll be giving you some great tips on high fruit eating. Also giving you some major proof and some information that almost no one's heard. Something I've been sitting on for years and just haven't gotten to it. Post your thoughts below in the comment section and rate this video thumbs up or down. I'll see you in a couple days. Oh yeah, next video, I know what it's going to be already. I'm going to go and look at Frank Tufano's reaction to the sugar diet. I know he's got one. I haven't been over there in months.